Is this thing on?
All right, let's get this show on the road.
Okay.
Idiot. And we're back again. Welcome back to another week of coffee and carving. Look at that. I said it right the first time.
That's right. That's a big improvement from last week.
That's right. I always say carving and coffee. So
Well, it's not in order of priorities, apparently.
that's right. Truth be told, I'm drinking tea anyway.
Hey, that's something we have in common.
Tea and carving.
Doesn't that sound significantly lamer?
Very much so. I could never do that. That would be I don't know, it kind of takes the notch out of your manhood, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you feel as though the show would be comprised of two old women talking about their sons.
That said, it could be a cultural thing too, because the English have no problem with their tea time.
You're right.
It's a North American bias, I think.
It's true.
But let's just leave that alone.
How about it?
What have you been up to?
Oh, what haven't I been up to? Everything. I've been carving like a madman. I had an art show last weekend, and I've been, kind of locked up in the shed, making as much art as I possibly can for it. And, I sold the better part of what I brought. And so I've got another one this weekend. And this, I won't say who, because I'm not allowed to yet, but this sports team reached out and said, hey, can you carve us a staff for this new promo that we're doing? We're doing a bunch of stuff and doing some brand stuff, and we need it by Sunday. And so I gave them an estimate, they accepted it, and so I have to get that done before the art show, which kind of throws a wrench in my productivity.
This is a big team?
It's a big team. It's an NFL team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I asked him for clearance today if I could talk about it, because I wanted to, and he said, maybe not yet. You can allude to it, but
there you go. All right. Well, then we'll wait and see. Of course, I know nothing of NFL, so
me either. I didn't even know it was a team.
We're terrible. Oh, the guys will be hating us. I don't follow. The only sports I follow on, even on the internet, is just fighting, like UFC. I don't follow. Really? I don't follow hockey or nothing. So,
but yeah. So what about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I did a big family camp long weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Took a wife and actually only one daughter. So then she brought a friend. So it was great. It was all these, it's a family camping. It wasn't nothing crazy and wild. And these campgrounds, they always do like a Christmas in July. So this weekend was their Halloween.
Huh.
So an early Halloween. So the kids got all dressed up and they trick-or-treated tent to tent and trailer to trailer. And they had little parties and a haunted trail and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty good.
That's cool.
Yeah, just to close it off. And then the next day, everyone's back in school on Tuesday. So yeah, that's really what I've been up to. Haven't done much of anything else. Just got to do some carving and some a little bit of kayaking and stuff. But otherwise, just a relaxing weekend.
Well, that's good. We never grew up camping when I was young, and it was only probably when we moved out to the country and I started, camping in the backyard, I ever had a camping experience. But I imagine it's a good thing for the kids. You get to take them out and experience, family in the wilderness, what it might have been like to live in the frontier, Yeah.
Well, to be fair, this is a campground. This wasn't too wild. Like, we brought bikes, right?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, we brought bikes. There's probably, I don't know, 300 people there. So
yeah. The French trappers didn't have bicycles, did they?
No, and they didn't happen to wander through the wilderness while we were there either. It was just just campers, weekend campers.
I bet there were some kids that thought you were an old French trapper, huh?
Yeah, I got some looks. It was fun. I was gonna dress up just by putting a toque on and call myself a lumberjack.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
But then you realize you already played the part without trying.
that's right. Oh dear. So what I want to talk to you about these art shows.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me the whole. I have no zero.
Yeah.
I know nothing of art shows.
Right.
Is this art shows as in like true art, or is this like compared to a craft fair, or is
Yeah.
this actually like an art show?
Yeah. Well, the big difference is the jury. And the juried art shows are the ones that you want to be involved in if you're going to try and sell artwork, higher end artwork. They do a better job of getting people who want to buy art there, and they think it really has to do with the process of getting good artists, and they jury, and so they don't let the crafty folks in. They just kind of try and keep it to a higher end of art, and it's a simple process. You can do it through the internet, the different application websites that you can post your booth and the carvings that you make or artwork. Various jewelers, painters, photographers, sculptors of all kinds show up, and usually set up either in a city or a park, and it goes for a weekend, and folks walk through, and you can see turnouts of 250,000 people at some of these really high-end shows, and it's a good
Oh,
time.
wow. So when you say jury, that just means you have to be chosen to be part of. Is that what?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a panel of a few people, and I've done it a couple of, well, once before for our biggest art show here in Michigan called the Ann Arbor Art Fair, and it was sitting around for 3 hours with endless coffee, staring at pictures and going, yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool, or that's awful. And I'm the worst at it. I'd be like a movie critic who likes everything. So I just thought, oh, that's neat. We should let him in. And everyone was kind of looking at me like, what are you talking about? That's a popsicle stick with a face drawn on it. It's like, so I'm not the greatest, but
Now in the world of art shows, how many wood carvers would be part of that?
well, it's increased. I don't, I won't claim to have any significant impact, but I will say that there are a couple of folks who have seen me doing it at Arts and Apples, this particular fair that I'm going to this weekend, who weren't there and saw me doing it and started doing it. So, but really maybe only a handful, maybe, I mean, out of everyone, if you include the spoon carvers, there are probably 5 or 6 booths out of 300 or 400 booths that are.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It'd be smaller, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now, so that's so spoon carvers are considered artists then.
yeah, at this art show, they lump them in for some odd reason.
No diss to the spoon carvers, of course.
Only kidding, but
No, that's interesting because yeah, I can see more of the wood sculpture over the, like, you carve mostly faces and whatnot.
yeah,
Is there a
right.
bunch of like crazy sculpture kind of wood carvings, or is it all similar to what you do? Or
Well, there's a couple of guys that do figurative stuff. There's a guy, I can't remember his name now. I think it's something Harriet, but he does a lot of faces, and mostly he sells these bottle stoppers or sorry, wine
yep.
stoppers. Yeah, with little heads carved in the top.
Oh, so that's like a caricature carver even.
Yeah, he's a caricature guy. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, but most of it's stuff that you'd kind of think of if you thought of fine art, like painting and photography, and a lot of jewelers, man, endless jewelers
Yeah.
everywhere.
So what's the draw that you would want to be there as opposed to selling yourself online? Is it just exposure?
Well, I guess it's good to do both. I think the exposure is good at art shows. You get thousands of people walking through, and they can watch you demonstrate in person. That's nice. And you get your kind of collector base that likes to show up to those events. They like the feeling of getting out on the weekend and perusing through the nice park and seeing the various artists and buying their usual art from their usual artists. And so it's definitely it can be lucrative. I think ultimately, it's hard to be one of these guys who does the 80 shows a year. I've never
Right.
done that, but those guys are my peers, and they work so hard. I mean, they're constantly on the road, but they
Yeah.
make
So
a lot of money. So
so I can see what you just said there. So the clientele, like you said, collectors. So you're
yeah.
talking about people that don't bat an eye at your exorbitant prices, and they want collect one here and there, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that just maybe they're single and they don't have wives to yell at them or husbands to yell at them, or yeah, I mean, disposable income, people with families that like to buy a little piece every year.
yep,
It's a good time, man. It's very wholesome, it's always fun.
yep, good, fun.
But yeah, I mean, there are plenty of ways of making a living as an artist, but I recommend it to people a lot who are starting out. It's something that, even though it's no longer a foundational part of how I make a living, it's a great way of starting out, because like you mentioned earlier, publicity. I mean, you get the last show that I did, there were over 300,000 people that walked through. And if your location and your booth is good, pay the extra money for the corner booth and get that extra flow of traffic. It's excellent. I mean, you can, somebody out of 300,000 people they're gonna want to buy your artwork if it's decent. It's good. So
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Yeah, because what the alternative is, you can make a website, but if nobody knows who you are, who cares, right?
that's exactly right.
And even some of the craft auction sites like Etsy or whatever, like
Right.
that's, yeah, it's everything's by who you know, right? You don't get
Correct.
surface to the top for nothing. You have to earn it
Right.
somehow. So
Yeah, it's like I always think of it as like being a musician and going on tour. You've got to play in front of real people in order to sell your digital assets, or your well, nowadays, especially since you can't really sell music, but your merch or what have you. So it
yeah,
helps.
no, that's a good way to look at it.
Not
Yeah,
everyone can be like Doug Linker and develop this huge following on YouTube and make money from that, right?
well, that's yet to happen.
Yeah, but there are different strokes for different folks.
I tell you, I was at the campground. I carved two things at the camp, and what it's so great. I just sitting there by the fire carving. That's my new favorite thing. Carving outside, just relaxing. It was so nice to have nothing to do, and then
You ever
just be
see
able.
that guy? You ever see that Giles Newman or Giles? I have no idea how to say his.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes.
Remember when he used to only carve out in the bush, as you called
Yep.
it,
Yep.
outside in the tent?
Yep. Yeah. He's fantastic, and
Yeah,
everything he uses a Mora 120 knife to carve everything, and it's usually the old oak that he's carving. So his
yeah.
pieces take hundreds of hours, even.
I mean, he's incredible. I mean, just look at this guy's detail. The most impressive part about it to me is like how tiny his works are. They're minuscule, and how much detail he gets. I mean, he
Oh
gets
yeah,
crazy, crazy detail in these tiny little
yeah,
ornaments.
and like that's such a patience game. I would snap those things off so fast with my clubby hands and hurry break, and then be in the fire.
I know. I'm the same way. I think I mean, I can see how you could get caught up in it, but at this size, I mean, at this size, if you look at it in scale to his hand, it's like it's hard to see in that picture, but it's incredibly detailed. His
Yes,
work.
but being 50% audio, I'm gonna try and I'll try and explain what you're showing.
Oh yeah, here, try it. I want to see how you can explain this via audio.
Yeah, that's almost impossible. But basically, it's a was it a bull elk with
Yep.
a tree root spoon bottom? It's amazing. Regardless, how about you just go to Instagram and look up Giles Newman,
Yep.
and
GILES_NEWMAN, like Newman.
but there's something that I really appreciate about him is just using that Mora 120, that Mora knife.
That's all he uses?
That's all he uses.
Oh, that makes me
Nope.
dislike him, actually.
Yep, no chisels, no nothing. You see, when he teaches a class, he'll sharpen up a dozen Mora 120s, and here we go. And I don't know why. There's something about me. I really love that minimalist, just the knife thing.
Yeah, it's
And
like,
yet I always get caught up into the other tools too.
right.
But you can make a way. You can make a way with one tool. It's just
Right.
so much practice.
No, definitely. There's something about just getting, getting something out of just one tool that's really impressive.
Yeah, I did a video once on I called it, I think it was carving junk wood with just a knife. So I think I had like a leftover piece of, I think it was even varnished piece from IKEA furniture that didn't get used, just like a piece of pine or whatever they use, had
Yeah.
holes drilled in. It's just leftover scrap from an IKEA box.
Right.
And I took the Mora 120 and I carved the little man out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it worked. And I really liked it, but it's just a thicker knife too. So there's a whole new, you're not doing those big slices. You're taking smaller bits at a time because you're not getting those through slices, you know?
I'm shocked that he doesn't use just a carving knife with a, where you have the edge of the blade is it's just one straight edge from the back of the blade, the dull side, to the front sharp side. There's one straight, edge. So
Well,
you
no,
level.
I don't agree with that because this is why you use gouges to do inside corners and stuff. But you need that Mora 120's got a bit of a belly that you can kind of roll that knife and create a round. Whereas you can't do that with a straight blade.
Oh, I see.
You just chatter into nothing. You're out. You can't do with a straight blade. You need a little bit of a belly, little bit of a belly that you can kind of roll your knife, and even that's not the easiest thing to do.
I know what you're talking about. No, I guess I just meant like the way that the grind is on them. I was just saying it's amazing that with that tall bevel, he's managing to get all those details. Like,
yeah, it's an amazing point on that blade.
Is it?
He probably carves most of his work in the top half inch. Yeah.
That last little tip. Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of guys like that out there. I've been following picking up some Russian carvers lately.
Really?
On Instagram, and just here and there, I couldn't tell you any names off the bat, but a lot of the not mannequins. What's the little mannequin? No, you know what I'm saying.
Gosh dang, the puppets.
Marionettes. Yes. And there's some super talented Russian guys out there on Instagram. It's so fun to watch them work. And they do things probably totally different than we do here. Like they use a lot more chisels and gouges. You hardly see knives in their hands.
Huh. Yeah. And you'd think, especially with those guys, because they're holding the work while they're carving, they wouldn't want to have these long shaft tools.
Yeah, they seem to do a lot more work against a bench or against a block. Right. Still holding the work, but pushing into a block.
Right.
So when the chisel goes through or the gouge goes through, it just goes into that block, and they just keep turning their work against a solid block. It's kind of a neat way to do it.
Yeah. Well, didn't you get something did you get your, well, you probably didn't because you said it'd take a while, that tool for making shoes, wooden shoes.
No, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
No, I did get this week though. Not that I have know what to do with it, but I did get a fun little tool this week, and that is made by Gramercy, and it's a 2-finger spoke shave.
What on earth? It's got 2 little finger loops on either side.
instead of the big draw knife. I said spoke shave. It's a draw
Right.
knife.
Right.
But the instead of the big handles on it, this is just a very, very small little 2-finger draw knife.
How cute.
Isn't that cute?
What on
That's
earth would you do with it?
I'll tell you someday. It's made in the USA by Gramercy, Grammercy. But
It's
yeah, it's a fun
adorable.
tool,
It's very cute. I like it. I kind of want one, even though I have no idea what I would do with it.
right? So
Yeah. No, I've been trying to make do. You introduced me to this accelerant, and for years I refused to use it. And I think I mentioned it in the last show, but I've had ample opportunity over the week breaking things off to use that spray accelerator for the super glue to
yeah.
instant
Yeah.
repairs.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have patience for a 60-second dry time. Give me that 5-second drive time.
Give me that 2-second time. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Spray it and go.
It is
Yeah.
nice though not to have to wait.
I was fortunate to find it. I hadn't really seen. I saw some guys on YouTube using it in the past too, but I had never seen it for sale anywhere. And then there's a store we have here, Busy Bee,
Yeah.
and they make a bunch of tools and they happen to carry it. So yeah, I bought it too. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so name of the game is try to make things as efficient as possible if you're trying to sell artwork, to try and to not waste any time. It's like when you're in the shop and you're working, you just want to be working. You don't want to be dilly-dallying, as far as I'm concerned, especially when it's like right up before these big events. You gotta hustle hard and make as much art as you can.
So last week you spent a lot of time on the cedar carving there.
Yeah.
Did you you didn't bring that to sell, did you?
I did bring it to sell and it's gone. Someone picked it up.
Really?
Yeah, it was a collaboration with Abby Peterson, and I mentioned him. He's a great carver. He did the whole rough end for this. I don't know. I want to say 3.5 foot or more tall cedar carving of a Native American face. This beautiful Native American kind of theme that he conjured up with this. I don't know if it's a plains thing. I've seen it before where there's an eagle on the hat, but he carved
a caped eagle, right?
I don't know what it was, but
it's kind of like caped over the head.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he blocked everything in this beautiful form, and then I roughed in the face in 35 remaining minutes. We did an hour-long challenge video, and but he said, I told him I'd give him half of it up front, and I called him after the end of the show and said, "Hey, buddy, we sold it." He said, "All right, take my half, put it in an envelope, and use it to pay for a trip for you to come down and carve with me. If you don't come down and carve with me by March, you're going to write March on that envelope. That way you remind yourself, you come down and you bring me you send that cash to me." Then it's like,
that's cool.
So I'm going to have to go down.
You'd like to do that anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to go down there. So,
that's fun.
But yeah, he's just the idea of Carver being able to do what he can do, and even with the materials that he uses, it's like I cannot imagine being able to remove as much stock as he does. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely.
Yeah. So then, other than that cedar, did you have any other actual like wood carvings, or was it mostly bark carving?
I had a cedar woman that wasn't finished, but a white cedar face that I've had sitting around the shop for, maybe 4 years or longer. And I didn't have it marked for sale, but I brought it and put it on a pedestal. I had a butternut carving of Edison, which is probably sitting in this box next to me. I wonder if I can. It's another great visual reference for those who are watching via or listening, right? No, it's not in here. But I was carving like a banshee during the show. I got a commission, a couple of people that commissioned, one who just blatantly dropped out of the show. or drop, basically stopped talking to me as soon as I finished with it. And then I was working on this guy during the show.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fantastic.
so I'm hoping I have to finish this before the weekend along with my staff. And so I've got a ridiculous amount of stuff to do.
That butternut is a nice wood to carve. Somebody sent me some pieces once, but that's an endangered tree here.
Is it?
Yeah, we don't. I know of a couple, but if I said out loud where they were, the conservation authority would probably go and monitor them year to year. So
Right.
I'm just keeping them in my back pocket because it's on somebody else's property. But hard to tell the difference between a walnut tree and a butternut tree.
Oh,
Especially the leaves are identical.
are you trying to create an alibi for when you accidentally cut a
Yeah.
butternut tree down to carve it?
No, I'll never cut it down. I just, you don't want people always on your property and checking out, watching the tree. But yeah, it's endangered, so you're not to cut them down. So, but I see it's very, very affluent in the States. So I don't know what the big deal is here, but
Yeah, I don't know what it is. We don't have we I guess there's something to do with a worm that eats them. They put holes in them, and most of the butternut, even down here, is wormy. So I know it's hard to find good clear butternut even in the States. But yeah, it's bad. I love it. I think it's my favorite hardwood to carve outside of what else would it be? Even white pine I love right now. But yeah, it'd probably be between butternut and black walnut maybe, or birch.
yeah. Well, the butternut's got a very strong grain, right?
It does, but I'm sure you've carved it before, but it doesn't fight you as like
No,
any
it doesn't fight you, but on your finished work, you really see the grain.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the clear coat on it.
Yeah.
Pulls it out.
That said, did you finish your carvings?
My carvings.
Did you put a finish on your carvings?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, not all of them, but I'm still experimenting, and this, but I go back and forth between using these this paste that I have. It's like a shoe cream, really, and lacquer. I've tried other water-based finishes and oil-based finishes, and the only other finish that I use regularly is a spar urethane that is for like outdoor stuff, but mostly deft satin brush on lacquer for the bark carvings, and then I use this paste wax when I want a lighter color.
Yeah, that's what I found. I use the paste wax just because most of the finishes and the oils included, they darken the bark so dark so fast.
Yeah.
Right. The paste waxes seem to just keep it a little bit lighter than the oils and the lacquers. So.
Makes a huge difference for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because of how the finishes penetrate more than the waxes do, but
for sure, that's all it is. Yeah. Right. Yeah, waxes are mostly topical with a little bit of they bite in a little bit, but they're mostly topical.
Right.
That's why you have to put another coat on your furniture or whatever every year and stuff like that. So yeah.
Is that what you use?
I've been using a Min Wax paste wax.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just from the hardware store. Works great. I tried Howard's Feed and Wax and some linseed oils and stuff, but like I said, they just go dark. Yeah. So too dark, really. So
yeah. When I do use the Howards, it's because I've already finished it with deft, and then I touch it with just the tiniest bit to give it a luster. And man, that's a nice, very warm, dark, but warm effect. I think it's beautiful, but it doesn't always suit every carving. If you don't want it to be dark,
no,
probably shouldn't go with the deft unless it's a lighter wood.
But the Howards, I'm really loving the Howards just on a little character guys.
Right.
Like when that stuff dries and you kind of give it a quick buff, I have a little shoe brush and I just give it a buff after it dries. But it for some reason, it almost feels soft in your hand. You know what I mean? It just feels soft. It's such a nice finish. And I hate shine of any kind, like any shine of a finish.
Right.
So that's just perfect, matte, smooth. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I was watching a video today.
Oh, I've totally lost your audio. Having technical difficulty.
Am I back here?
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, I see. It's saying the internet's unstable.
Uh-oh.
So I
So
thought of you. So I
no,
thought of you today. I saw a video.
you missed a lot of that. You started watching a video, and that's where I lost you.
So I started watching a video today about why builders use nails as opposed to screws. And he put a screw in a 2x4 and whacked it with a hammer. He said most houses, they tend to move and kind of shear, the shift, I mean. And so if a house shifts and it's held together with a screw, he whacked the screw and it busted the screw, and he said it'll bust the connection of the materials. And I used a nail. He nailed that into the 2x4 and whacked on that, and that bent over as many times as he whacked it. That softer metal, it works better and with the movement of apparently the settling of a house. He said it's much better, type of situation. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's I prove that all the time. Every time I get a funny screw, I just hit it once or twice and I snap the screw off and carry on. But the real reason, now, let's not get too carried away. If you're building a house, the cost of a 3.5-inch screw versus a 3.5-inch RDOC spike is astronomical.
Yeah, is that so?
It'd be hundreds and hundreds of dollars more. But a spike is faster than a screw. It's RDOX, meaning it will turn into the wood.
Oh.
And a lot of screws have a little spacer on the top, of the shank.
Right.
And the thickness of the wood you screw, there's play in there too. So we've always used nails. It seems to be a lot of the maker movement really, and I use more screws now than ever before, but I never ever used to use screws at all. Like, 15 years ago, everything was nailed together.
Right.
But screws have really became part of the home hobbyist type thing,
Right.
So
yeah, and that makes sense. I suppose the better screws that don't shear and bust like that are probably really expensive, and then
I wouldn't even know what they were.
Right.
Because if they're softer, you're gonna spin them out when they restrict. Like I've busted screws just trying to get it through something hard.
Right.
So that's a brittle screw, but a softer screw would probably just spin out on you.
Right.
So
there you go. That's your construction fact for the day.
There you go.
I'm learning about this because I'm starting this sauna project, and I've got the base for it, but I haven't yet started to, build the walls or the roof or anything. So I've got a friend coming out to help me with it in a few weeks, and we're just in the drawing phases of it. But the plan is to have it done before winter so we can, sit in that thing and try and remember what it's like to feel warm. It gets so cold up here.
Right.
Well,
not the last couple of weeks, has it?
No, it's been beautiful the last couple of weeks. You can't complain.
You say beautiful, I say awful.
Are you getting hot?
Oh, I hate the heat. Oh,
is it hot there now?
Very hot.
Oh.
Did you get those storms last night?
We got a little a sprinkle here and there, but I didn't see anything significant.
We had some really major thunderstorms last night, which I thought was going to cool it all down, and it did until this morning, and now she's right up hot again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
yeah. No, we've stayed pretty cool the last week. We've been in the 70s most of it. We might have jetted up into the lower 80s, but it's been nice. I mean, the show I did last week is traditionally just an absolute, it feels like you're sitting in an oven on high, but no, it was great this past week. So we're blessed in that regard for sure.
I've dabbled with the idea of a sauna. My wife
Yeah,
would my wife would love to have a sauna,
yeah,
and I think I'd like to have a sauna,
yeah. It's definitely
but
doable. What?
but it's one of those things that you really need to try it a lot more before you go in, before you're all in. It's like the people that buy a hot tub for $10,000 and then it sits there, no one uses it. I talked to two people this weekend at the camp, and then both these guys have in-ground swimming pools, and they say the kids never swim in the pools.
Oh,
Only when company comes over, they go swimming. And
spoiled
I'm like,
brats is what I say.
well, I'm like, I don't know what I want to invest in really anymore because I didn't really want the electric heater.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of the wood fired sauna.
Oh yeah.
That said, then that becomes a whole routine. Like that's a whole event now, right? So
Well,
you don't have that quick sauna every night either, right? So
it's like, yeah, the it's like, would you rather heat with wood or you have a furnace? It's like, well, both, there's efficiency to one, but there's convenience to the other. It's like you got to weigh out your pluses and minuses. I mean, if I had the setup for it, I'd heat with wood in my house for sure. I mean, it's awesome.
well, that's all we use here.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. I'm 15 years in this house just heating with wood.
Wow.
That said, this may be the first year if I don't get my button gear and get my wood. I got wood cut. I just got to get it here, but I've been really procrastinating. I got to get it home and get her stacked up out here, but it's dry. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got. I'm very fortunate. I didn't really realize it while I was building the house. I did like building code. We had to put ductwork in for a furnace, but so I do have an electric furnace as a backup. So just in case we go away for 2 weeks, and everything's not going to freeze. But the bonus that when building this house that I never thought about, we have like a Minimalist cook stove, but not your typical fancy nickel plated cook stove. It's kind of a more, I don't know, less glamorous cook stove. But
Yeah.
the trade-off is we have a large firebox, whereas the other cook stoves have really small fireboxes. So we have an oven. We have an oven and a warming tray in on our wood stove. But what I'm saying is there's 4 bedrooms upstairs here, and I was always concerned about them. But the stairwell is central in the middle of the house, and it's perfect. The heat just goes right up the stairs and it heats all the bedrooms evenly, and that's what I was concerned about. So yeah, the only cold place is actually the basement.
Huh.
So yeah, it's really nice.
That works out well. Yeah, I've always thought about how neat it would be to do that. And then the reason why is because when I moved into this house, it was outfitted with a pretty decent wood burning stove. But the problem was it was taking up uh, so much space in the living room. I have a living room the size of I mean, I don't know, probably the average sunroom. It's just a tiny house. It's a 800 square foot house in the summer when everything's fully expanded from moisture, but it's a it's a tiny little living room, and this thing took up so much space I had to get rid of it. But I thought about leaving it there and heating exclusively with wood, since that's what the guy who lived there before me did, but
Yeah,
here we are.
yeah. Sophie's other complaint is that she never gets to wear her sweaters. I I always I take pride in just cranking it up in here. So you're wearing shorts in the house in the middle of winter.
Oh yeah.
I keep her hot. Eat
Well, that's,
supper, fall asleep on the couch because it's so hot.
oh my gosh, that sounds kind
Great.
of nice.
Yeah.
Well, there's a thing, when I was visiting my buddy's grandpa in Linköping in Varna. It's Sweden, like a little suburb of Stockholm, and he had this mill on his property. He had built these 5 homes on 300 acres or hectares or whatever they call it there. So what is that, like 600 acres here? um, heated everything with wood, and he had the sawdust. He'd tow it over to his basement where he had this pile and a conveyor belt that carried the sawdust from the pile to his wood burning furnace, which
Oh yeah.
ran ductwork through the house and a fan. And it looked like basically a regular furnace, but instead of gas, it was run by sawdust. And I was thinking, like, why don't we have that here?
Well, a lot of they nothing in town, but a lot of the farmers out here have the external wood furnaces where
Oh,
they can put in like I probably 5 or 6 4 to 5 foot logs in these outdoor furnaces, and they'll be good for days.
that's
That they can just load it up and yeah, and I think it works by water.
huh.
And then they have a little
Oh, right, a boiler.
well, yeah, they just the water circulates, and then the fan unit in the house with a what do you call it? Like not a radiator. What do you call the plenum anyway? With the coils, and it blows the heat
Oh,
out of it. Right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a neat idea. It's like that radiant heat. A lot of people have that. That
Yeah.
it's efficient, that heating that's built into the floor too, with those tubes, heated coolant
Yeah.
goes. That's neat.
Yeah. As long as you don't drill a hole through it when you're installing stuff. My in-laws did that.
Did they really?
Yeah. Of course, it's in the cement, and
Oh,
yeah, they couldn't get the work proper. But anyway, that's another story.
that's a nightmare. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but I guess you can't drill into your floors, but seldom do I drill through mine. Well, I guess I can't say that because of all the stuff I've had to do to my house. But I've probably drilled in it more than the average person has. I bought a heap, so
You bought a what?
a heap, a pile of junk.
So when you have 18 babies at your house, you're going to be able to, you got room to expand?
Well, I'm thinking, I can fit at least 9 of them in the attic room, and yeah, probably the other 9 in the bedroom. So
Good, good.
should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to move out. This house is already getting too small. I mean, I've just completely filled it with junk, and I've got a housemate, but it's just I love I love the aspect of minimalism. If it was just me living here, I wouldn't ever move out. But being that I want to have a family and kids, like you say, it's like 800 square feet doesn't cut it.
You can jack up your shop and take it with you though, eh?
That was the plan, but when I did this, the bigger it got, the more this old Italian builder helped me. The more extravagant all my ideas became, the less I felt like moving it. So will I end up moving it? I don't know. It's huge. I mean, it's 12 by 16, right? So it doesn't have that giant of a footprint, but it has proper 8-foot walls and a vaulted ceiling, and it's just full of junk. And um, yeah, I mean, the idea is to be able to trailer it out. I called a company that said that they would move it for for a decent price, 350 miles, for a
Hmm.
base rate. But will I do it? That's the question. We'll see.
Yeah. Ah,
I'll probably end up renting this place. I think that's probably the thing to do with a tiny little house like this in this market.
yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, yeah, I digress. But yeah, so it's off to art show number 2 of the week. And I have to say, I'm starting to think about, tell me what you think about this, but I'm self-employed completely. And there's beauty in working normal hours. I imagine I've never done it once. I've never worked like a normal shift. It's always like, start at 10 a.m, work until 11, or until your girlfriend yells at you, or something. Like, I've never had like normal hours. There have been times in my life where I've scheduled like, for maybe a year, I did the 6 a.m to 4 p.m thing.
Yeah.
But I was listening to an interview of all people, Eminem, He was saying that, well, actually, it was an interview of Akon, the guy who signed Eminem. He said, when I first worked with Eminem, he started at 9 and left at 5. And when I showed up at 6 p.m. to the studio, I called him. I was like, where you at, man? He's like, I'm home. I already finished up. He's like, wow, this guy works a normal shift. And he said the next day he shows up at 9, and at 5 p.m. they're just getting going. They're in the groove. They've got this sweet track they're playing, and 5 o'clock comes around. And he's like, yeah, man. All right, well, we'll pick this up tomorrow. And Akon's going, what the heck? You're in the flow state, man. Finish this song up. He's like, no, man, I treat this like a normal job. I don't blow it up to anything more than it should be. I'm not gonna make it something that I hate doing. And that just was like, mind blowing to me. It's like, you always hear about, if you're on Instagram and you follow any of these like influencer people or YouTube influencer people, they're constantly talking about how if you want to have success, you need to work 18 hours a day. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of liking this idea of just working the normal hours in a week.
I think the 6 a.m. till noon, I get far more done than I would get in twice as much time in the afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, I just love that morning 6 till 12. That's my sweet spot. I love it. It's many afternoons I'm just dragging and like, I don't, I've lost my oomph for the day,
Yeah.
I could just post from there on. But right now I work too many jobs, and I've just got too much on my plate. So Eminem can say that, but hopefully he can shut his brain off.
Right.
I can't shut my brain off. That's my other problem, is even if I'm not doing anything, I'm stewing and stressing about something that is out of my hands for, it could be days, but I'm still mulling it over and thinking it. And, a lot of times when it comes to actually doing it, I don't have to think on the job very much because I've already done it in my head 25 times. So
it's hard.
It's a blessing and a curse, really. So
yeah,
you look good when you go to do the job because you're not really thinking too much about it. The truth of the matter is you've been laying in bed at night thinking about this job for the last 2 weeks or whatever, and it's been driving you crazy. So
right. Yeah. It's just and then there's the other side of it, of having the regularity of a schedule, like a 9 to 5. It's like some people work better at night, right? Some people aren't like you, and they're more extreme than me. They probably start at, well, I can think of at least a couple of artist friends of mine who are sculptors. They get up at 3 and they work until 4 a.m., 4 a.m., and then they go to bed and start again. So
I think that's just for the story.
You wonder, don't you?
I do. I think that's a bunch of malarkey. That's just got to be so they can tell their artist story. Don't you think?
Well, I would say that's possible for a lot of people. They're just trying to get attention and it sounds cool. But I don't know. I remember my mom growing up, she was a florist, and there's some degree of artistry, I think, in being a florist for sure. And she would sit there in the basement working only, 10 p.m. and later. The 10 p.m. was her start time, and she'd go until 1 or 2 in the morning. If ever I couldn't sleep, she'd be down in the basement making arrangements.
Yeah, but that's because she finally got you out of her hair. And she could actually focus on what she wanted to do without little Alec driving her crazy, right?
Touche.
So did I ever tell you? I think I might have told you the story, but I'll tell it again anyway. The artist story about a renovation I once did.
No.
So I was hired to do a bathroom renovation one time, and but don't think bathroom, think bedroom-sized bathroom. Okay, very large bathroom, and I gutted that whole bathroom to studs, drywall, taped it. I built in the whirlpool jacuzzi, tiled it, built the vanities, built a mirrored cupboard medicine cabinet, and I don't know, a few other things, trimmed it all out, wainscoting. And then they hired this painter. Now, this painter was an artist, but he was a painter. You know what I mean? And he had a story. And had his university degree in such and such, and he would just talk so freely and about how he just loves to work with his hands, and he's just a real painter, a painter at heart, even with his university degree. And that sucker made as much money painting the walls in that bathroom as I did doing all the work, because they bought his story.
Oh,
And that's a real artist gimmick, is to come up with a story that makes it a little bit more interesting. Like I only work from 3 a.m. till 5:30,
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's upsetting. That makes me angry.
Yeah, I'll never forget that job. That was I couldn't believe it. Had I known they were willing to pay so much, maybe it's on me. I should have just jacked my rates times 4.
Right.
I probably did 8 times the amount of work as this one guy did going in to do a paint job. Like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You got to come up with some story next time you do that.
Need a line. Yeah. Well, I just love creating bathroom renovations for little old ladies with lots of money. Yeah.
It's got to be better than that. It's got to be like, I grew up on a farm, and I just I was kind of alone in the world, and all I had were these 2 hands and this hammer.
Yeah.
And it brought me from a deep, dark state of hopelessness to light and purpose in the world. And now I do it as a way of expressing my love for people.
Yeah. Keep going.
I have a marketing degree. I don't know much about building, but I can make up a lame story that might work,
Yeah.
No, but truly, all a marketing degree did, I didn't even graduate, so I technically I shouldn't even say I have the degree. I probably barely eked out an associate's proper, but I didn't get all the way to my 4-year because I was broke because college is so expensive, but B, I was paying for a renovation of my house and doing the renovation of my house while running my business and going to school, paying cash out of pocket for it. And so I was like, something has to go. But my larger point here was marketing school was it was kind of depressing, because what it basically boils down to, what marketing boils down to, is word of mouth is number one. It's the most effective way of selling anything, is word of mouth. How do you achieve word of mouth? Being a good marketer. Well, you make a really good product. Do marketers make the products? No. The engineers, the manufacturers, those who actually are involved with their hands in making the product great, those people create happy customers, which create positive word of mouth. And that has nothing to do, that excludes marketing. So the more I learned about marketing, the more I learned about psychology of sales and business acumen and how to behave in a workplace, the less and less I wanted to have anything to do with it. I mean, I enjoyed the psychology of it. I enjoyed learning about it. It was like, if you're going to be an artist and sell art, make good art, people will talk about it. If you're going to be a builder, make nice houses, people will buy them, people will tell their friends, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
But then there is something to be said for the story, right? Like, if you can tell a good story, that will propel your marketing, right? That's probably the number 2 thing. If number 1 is creating a really great product and it's spreading by word of mouth, probably the second thing has to be, concentrate, your story down to a very simple thing so that you can communicate it to people. It's like, you get paid 3 times whoever did the hard work.
That's right. Well, I think we just will run out of our time already.
Yeah.
That goes quick, eh?
It does.
It does. Have you been watching anything fun or interesting, media-wise, or you been taking anything in?
Yeah, I guess just mostly I've been listening to a lot of this really it's kind of embarrassing, but kind of not at the same time because they're amazing. It's a girl, kind of a pop band named the Japanese House, and they write these songs that are they're really catchy and they're upbeat. And I was introduced to him by a friend. He sent me their album. He bought it for me back before I had Spotify, and he said, listen to this on your way up to visiting me in North Carolina. And I listened to it on the way up, and I was like, this is the lamest music I've ever heard. This is like girl pop. Why would he think and then on the way back, I was like, we don't talk anymore. Just kind of singing along every lyric.
Watch the copyright. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but yeah, I've been listening to them. I've been listening to some kind of more basic acoustic stuff. But what about you?
Well, if you're bold enough to talk about your girl bands, your girl pop bands, I'll tell you what I discovered I took this on a whole YouTube tangent. ABBA.
Oh,
back 40 years later, they've just created new music.
Wow.
And it sounds just like the 1978, 79 music.
It can't be the same guys.
Same people. It's amazing. So again, I went on these tangents of watching people react. You ever see, I think we talked about this last time.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah. So this is reaction videos to their videos, and all they're basically all my age. And then the memories and the feelings that people were all crying and just can't believe that ABBA's back. And it was good. It was good, really. But when I was a kid, ABBA to us, that wasn't cool. We were rock and roll, heavy metal. We couldn't listen to ABBA.
Right.
But I guarantee you, everybody at my age loves ABBA secretly.
Yeah.
How can you not? Secretly, everybody loves ABBA. But yeah, they're back. So they've created a show, because they're old now, but they've created a show. They've built an arena in England, and they're having a show there with, ready for this?
Yeah.
Avatars.
What the heck?
They're doing a live show with avatars with the new music of their, you know what I'm saying?
Avatars.
So they're created this show with avatars, but the joke is avatars.
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. So
But
what does that mean? There are people standing in their place, or
no? That's all projection stuff. It's all so highly digitalized that it's their old faces singing their new songs, because they're all like 70 years old now, right?
That's kind of weird though. Just show up as an old person,
That's what I kind of wanted that too, but I guess that's what they're doing. And they showed the behind the scenes, how they wear those little suits with all those little sensors and stuff, and they just digitalize it. It's like it's movie technology that they've created all this stuff, but it's pretty cool, pretty wild. But they built a 3,000 seat arena just for this show, which is going to probably go on for years. But anyway, the fact that they came back and made new music after 40 years since their last album is pretty wild.
What was their big hit? What was ABBA's big hit?
Oh, there's 50 of them.
Countless.
The what?
Have what was their most famous? Like if I were to look up ABBA right now.
Oh, you like Chiquita, Fernando, Dancing Queen.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, there's piles of them.
I think they're a Swedish band, no? Thought they were. A Swedish band?
Swedish, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a couple of hits before, but they won the Eurovision Song Contest, which kind of propelled their career. Now you know about the Eurovision Song Contest, right?
No, I don't.
No, you don't. Okay, so it's a whole. It's like America's Got Talent, only it's Europe's Got Talent by country. And
Really?
it's every year. I couldn't tell you how old it is, but it's a really old contest. And it's countries, and European countries contest
Huh.
every year. So you've never watched that movie? I've recommend to everybody and their brother is the Eurovision, the Fire Saga story with Will Ferrell.
Oh my gosh.
It's my favorite movie lately, but
I'm gonna look at that. I'll actually look at that. That anything with Will Ferrell makes me happy.
I've actually watched that movie. I hate to say it, but I've probably watched it a dozen times now.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna watch. What is it called again?
Look, I'm not sure if it's Eurovision, the Fire Saga story, or something along those lines. But no, it's so funny.
The Fire Saga story. Okay. Eurovision Song Contest. The story.
Yes, Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah, it's so ridiculous. It's great.
Oh my gosh, it looks hilarious. This cover photo is like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's good. That girl is she's Canadian too.
Is she? Rachel McAdams?
Yeah.
All right, I'll watch it. That sounds good.
Right. Well, you go watch it, and we'll say goodbye. And if anybody has any topics for discussion or whatever, they can send us an email at
Coffee and Carving Show at gmail.com.
There you go. All right. Have a good week, everybody.
All right. Thank you guys.